All right, it is 7 o'clock. We will call to order this regular school board meeting of the Palmyra-Eagle Area School District. Tracy, may we have a roll call, please?
Carrie Ellis. Here. Justin Thomas. Here. Tara Bowman.
Here.
Scott Hoff.
Here.
Corey Jones.
Here.
Matt Mecca.
Here.
Amy Wild.
With all 7 members in attendance this evening, we do have a quorum. The mission statement of the Palmyra-Eagle Area School District is to ensure that students excel with intellect and virtue, inspired by innovative educators who engage and challenge each individual. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And after that, we would be remiss if we didn't thank the veterans in the room for their service following Veterans Day. So thank you for what you gave to our country. The agenda is presented. Any changes, additions, or subtractions to the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor of the agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Public comment, Mr. Wurzbach. Would you like to stay there? You want us to bring you a microphone? What would you like?
Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
He sees at once that this small public matter has a bearing on his greatest private interests. It's Alexis de Tocqueville, Democracy of America. To expand on that a bit, it is only after we begin to see a street as our street, a public park as our park, a school as our school, that we can become engaged citizens, dedicating our time and resources for worthwhile causes. Joining the neighborhood watch, volunteering to beautify a playground, or running for school board. That's it.
Thank you.
Committee reports this evening, curriculum and policy.
We met this past Thursday and discussed a couple of things that we have on the agenda tonight. We also, Carrie presented a change in the high school graduation requirements. There's a half a credit of a computer class that basically, is being taught in 4th grade. So we're changing that to a half a credit of personal finance, which I think would be much better, much more better.
Wow.
Yes. We were also looked at the GPA requirements for the existing LOD program. There's a couple changes that may need to be made there. The behavior matrix on the Skyward has been modified to be a little more clear, easier for the parents to understand. We made a decision and consensus that in the instance of a soft lockdown, basic email is just going to be sent out, still honoring everybody's privacy and not giving any specific details, but just letting parents know that it happened, and it could happen for a various number of reasons, ranging from medical issue to, Nick lost his little girl in the hallway. You just never know why we're going to have a soft lockdown. Also on the agenda tonight are a couple of goodies for your approval. The final draft of the NHS handbook is on the agenda. We're hoping to alleviate some of the issues that we've had in the past, and I think we've finally knocked down a good product. And I want to thank Amy and Carrie for their input on that, because it's kind of out of my elementary level of understanding of how life works up here in the big leagues. Also, we have two new policies for first reading on the agenda. First one is the continuity of organizational operation plans and also information security. So if you guys want to take a look at those the next month, we'll have the second reading in December. Thank you.
Thank you. Building and grounds. Bring back this way.
Thank you. Met earlier this evening. We spoke with the, first off, we spoke about our snow removal and the fact that they're going to start using a pre-treat when you've seen that on a lot of the highways and whatnot. So in essence, if all three buildings, you may have see a vehicle out there driving around in the dark. If it's supposed to snow that night, that's the main thing, is just so everyone is aware that they're going to pre-treat before the storm. Hopefully lessen our costs on salt and maybe even trips with the vehicle, with the trucks, if it's proper temperature and the amount of snow isn't that much. So that's one thing that we're going to add this year. It's strictly going to be the parking lots. It's strictly going to be, they even have a GPS to know exactly the amount to put down, environmentally safe, and et cetera. So that should work. We approved the fixing the redirection of hot water on this end of the building and office. So hopefully that should be, balls should be rolling to get that fixed. And Dr. Bloom is going to discuss most of the state safety grant, so I'll leave the gist of it alone. But mainly what we did as a committee this evening was approve of the the new safety secured entryways in both elementaries. That work should be able to take place, at least begin, I should say, over winter break. And in essence, there's about a $5,000 overrun from what we would have budgeted for it with that safety grant. So in order to get safe, secure entryways in both elementaries, we felt that was a good spending point. So that'll be coming up down the road. That's it.
Sounds good. Thank you. Finance.
We met earlier tonight, and I have nothing to report at this moment.
Thank you. And PR.
We met earlier this evening, and Stephanie updated us on the newsletter, which will be going out hopefully right before Thanksgiving. She's just waiting on a little bit more information to get that out. Honor an Educator, she's going to have about 4 to 5 new nominations for this year. That'll be wrapping up on Thursday, and those plaques will be presented around Christmas, you said, correct? Yeah, right before Christmas break. And then Stephanie is working with Ms. Greb, who is our computer business education teacher, on updating the athletic bulletin boards, and we appreciate them doing that and working to get that all updated. That's really about all we have for tonight.
All right, thank you to everyone for that. Administrators' reports. Sharon, anything? Okay, thank you. Carrie or Nick? You're good? All right, thank you. Consent agenda is handled as a singular motion and approval. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Questions or comments about the consent agenda? Anything on there? Special note of thanks with Mrs. Bronchinsky here to the athletic boosters for their generosity on a number of donations, and the Eagle Lioness for really stepping up and helping a family in need. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved. On to the action items. Action item A, consider approval of the mentor contract for the 18-19 school year.
Move to approve the mentor contract for the 18-19 school year. Second.
Steve, was this just an outlier one?
This was the mentor for the new Spanish teacher
Okay.
who was hired after the start of the school year.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. All those in favor of the mentor contract as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Action item B, consider approval of the 1819 National Honor Society Handbook.
Motion to approve 2018-2019 National Honor Society Handbook.
Questions or comments about this one?
I just want to thank Ms. Tim and, yeah, for all their help with that, getting that together, and the NHS crew. I think everybody had their input in it. It was a big deal and big undertaking, and I appreciate everybody's help getting that together.
Very good. All right, hearing no other questions, all those in favor of the 1819 National Honor Society Handbook, please say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Action item C, consider approval of the first reading of new policies. We'll handle them together. PO 8300, continuity of organizational operation plans, and PO 8305, information security.
Motion to approve first reading of new policies as stated.
Let's do this. We'll talk.
I'm done.
Okay. All right, questions or comments about these policies? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the first reading of new policies PO 8300 and PO 8305, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Action item D, consider approval of short-term borrowing through First Citizens Bank, Palmyra branch.
Motion to approve short-term borrowing through First Citizens Bank, Palmyra branch.
All right, so we are at 600,000, right? And it's down, what was it when you started? What was the number?
1.6 million.
1.6, so we've paid $1 million down over the last 4 years.
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Questions or comments about this one? All those in favor of the short-term borrowing through First Citizens Bank, Palmyra branch, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Action item E, consider approval of the resolution to exceed revenue cap commencing with the 2019-20 school year.
Move to approve of resolution to exceed revenue cap commencing with the 1920 school year.
Questions or comments? We'll cover more of this as we go through the work session and get it going. Lay it all out to the public and get things rolling on this quickly. Any comments or questions? All good? All right. All those in favor of the approval of the resolution to exceed the revenue cap commencing with the 1920 school year, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And last, action item F, consider approval of the resolution to provide for referendum election on the question of the approval of a resolution to exceed the district's revenue cap commencing with the 1920 school year.
Motion to approve resolution to provide for referendum election on the question of the approval of a resolution to exceed the district's revenue cap commencing with the 2019-2020 school year.
All those in, questions, comments? Just the procedural stuff that we have to cover. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries, and that process has begun. On to Dr. Bloom.
Thank you, and as was stated earlier, I also would like to thank all of our staff members who have served, who are veterans, and also any community members as well for their service, as Scott had mentioned earlier. You have in my notes a list of the recently concluded fall, middle, and high school athletic seasons. Thank you to all of our coaches. Relatively successful seasons for all of those activities, cross-country, football, volleyball, Thanks also to our cheer for their support. With team success goes individual successes, so we did have quite a number of student athletes who were named to their respective conference, either first team, second team, or honorable mention. And we also had one of our football players named by the Wisconsin Football Coaches Association as a first team player, which is quite an accomplishment. No other Trailways individual had reaped that recognition this year. So again, our team successes followed and coupled very closely with individual successes as well. A few weeks back, the elementary folks had their parent-teacher conferences, so thank you to our staff members for their preparations for those valuable times meeting with parents, guardians, and students. Recently at Palmyra Elementary, there was a STEAM Breakfast Buddy program, and at Eagle Elementary, there was a Drop Everything and Read program, so kudos to staff for those outreach efforts with parents and community members. Corey had mentioned a little bit more update on the Office of School Safety and the School Safety Grant. So to refresh your memories, there were 2 rounds of grants that were awarded. In the first round, the focus was on what they refer to as hardening of buildings, doors, locks, shatter-resistant film, etc. A major portion of the allocation that we received, the $80,000, was set aside and budgeted for renovations of more secured entrances, as Corey had mentioned, at both of the elementary schools. We were under budget in some of the other areas, and I will contact the Office of School Safety to find out what we need to do to make up what's been estimated for that work. And as Corey mentioned, in all likelihood, will be done during the winter break. The other part of that was the round 2, which included, again, an extension of hardening security cameras, et cetera, but also staff training. There is some uncertainty of the future of the Office of School Safety moving forward. Not sure if there'll be a round 3 or beyond. If there are, that office's major philosophy was on continued training. So I don't know that you'll see much in the way of the hardening for the locks, the doors, the film, those kinds of things anymore, but more awareness and staff training. Stay tuned. Scott and I attended the WASB Region 13 dinner and meeting recently. I wanted to commend Scott. He was the recipient of a level 2 recognition there for his service. Roseanne Hahn from Burlington was reelected to be the Region 13 WASB board representative. She had previously served in that position last year. I included some key dates for the WASB election. As you know, we have 2 seats that will be vacant. So you can check those deadlines and timelines. And if you need paperwork, Tracy, I know we'll have that information for you. Our pupil services team was the recipient of an additional grant. This is beyond the school safety grant monies. For a program called Screening, Brief Intervention, and Referral to Treatment. It's primarily going to be implemented initially with our high school students, and it's a way to assist students who might be in crisis types of situations. It's an awareness training for our staff in terms of look-fors, what signs, symptoms, et cetera, changes in behavior they should look for in our staff, and then appropriate interventions along the way. So I wanted to recognize the pupil service team for writing for that grant and receiving that grant. The 98th State Education Convention's coming up the 3rd week of January in Milwaukee. If you do want to attend, let myself or Tracy know. We'll get you registered. Scott will be your board delegate. I've not seen anything in the way yet of resolutions. Have you? It's a little bit early. I think typically that comes the 1st week of December. So we'll get that information to you in all likelihood, hopefully by the December board meeting. And I believe that's it. Thank you.
All right. Any announcements or board members with comments this evening? No? All right. Upcoming meetings and events. Curriculum and Policy will be meeting at 5 p.m. on Thursday, December 6th. Building and Grounds, Finance, Public Relations, and the regular board meeting will all be scheduled for now at 5:30 on December 11th. I know there's potential for some talk of using that time to do a referendum session from 6 till 7 or something like that. So for now, we'll keep them on the books and we'll adjust accordingly. All right. I would now hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is that a second? All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye. All right, thank you.